Hey fellas, another rant about Dragon and their drug-induced stupidity. I thought I'd get started on the Maultier. There's actually have two of these to build. I have the other one, the Cyber Kit with the 37 or the flak 37 on it. So I thought I'd do the plain Jane one as a learning experience, and it's certainly been that. For the record, this one is kit 6761. So what we'll do is we'll show you where the problems start. Actually, I'll bring this up. And this is where the problems start. Although I didn't know it because I was building it a little bit out of order. Hopefully we can zoom in. Hopefully you can see right there. They're telling you the frame to use is C41. So you go ahead and you build up to this point on C41. Now they give you two frames and there's a whole pile of extra parts in here. There's wheels galore and transmissions and motors for two different models. So then, magically, a couple of steps later, the frame is now H35. Hopefully you can see that. C41 now is H35. And what you lose between the two are these mounting pockets, which actually join up with these. I'm not going to be able to fit it, but that forms the sort of platform or the frame for the rollers, or the bogie wheels on the track system. Not the end of the world. It means, because these fit, the riveted parts fit flush with the top, and I do get a reasonable anchor at the front there. Can't hold this up, fellas, I'm sorry. But on the left, where it butts up with that frame, gives me a good starting point. And then because it fits flush, the riveted sections, I'm going to have to take the mounting attachments off and fiddle it onto there on both sides. Now the troubling part is these are mostly the same, aside from those, which I can get around. And there's some extra holes on the one I'm supposed to use. I don't know what goes in there. At this point I'll have to figure it out because I'm committed to this. I mean, the radiator's on, the engine brackets, the suspension, and the steering rod is the tiniest, fiddliest little thing I've had to deal with in a while. It's not photo etch. So trying to unglue all this would just be an absolute disaster. I'm stuck with this one. Sorry, there's out of frame there. You can see how fiddly all this stuff is. I am in real trouble if I try and take this off and transfer it over to the other frame. It'll just come completely apart. One of the other problems I had, I'll show you the diagram, I'll give you a better idea in a second. The sort of frame of the hood was badly twisted. Essentially what they give you is, so this zooms in, is that main rail and then the back arch and the front arch. And there's lots of supports in there. And it comes with a sprue sort of cast around to try and protect it. So I'm not sure if that got damaged when I repackaged it or not, or when I reboxed it after first looking at it. So if you do find yourself struck in the head with a brick and want to buy one of these, make sure you buy a new one. At least that way it's hopefully properly packaged and not buggered up by someone digging through it and just putting the pieces back together, because it is a very fiddly frail little piece by itself. You can get a better idea here. The radiator you attach later, so it's very, very thin plastic there, very easy to twist. And I've been building this up in sort of sub-assemblies, so I've been skipping back and forth, and you come across all sorts of stuff. This part, your oil pan, there's no number. Same thing later on, when you're building the cab. Not the end of the world for a modeler, and you can figure this stuff out, but it gives you an idea of just how crap these instructions are. Okay, you start with the cab floor, you put on the running boards, the back, you attach the hood, you put in an oil tank, you put on the steering wheel, you put in the gizmos and the dashboard, and then you start sealing up the with the roof and the doors. Then you look down here, and what has magically appeared is the seat. Apparently the elves show up when you take a break and put the seat in for you, according to Dragon. The other thing too is just about anywhere where they've got similar parts, such as up here, D70 and D73, 69, 62, they've got the numbers wrong. You should actually be using these in reverse, as I found out on one site. Not a huge deal, but you do have to clean off this portion. This area between these two sets is where the frame goes. I'll show you here. Ready to go. Yeah, there. The frame actually slides right in here. There's mounting holes for the frame. So if these jut out too far, you got to sand it right down. And as usual with Dragon, I can't find an example right now. The instructions, even the diagrams, are fairly weak. A lot of times they're showing you stuff and it's just sort of a vague in this area. Well, here's one here. Yeah, you're supposed to mount the shovel in there somewhere. You'll figure it out. And that's what you have to do, is you have to get, see the shovel magically just somewhere. I haven't got that far yet, because what I was planning on doing was building up the frame. These tracks are so small, I'm actually going to have to build these up and glue them straight into place and deal with painting the tracks and the frame and stuff all together just to support these tracks, because I'm pretty sure once they're together, if they've known of the support of the wheels underneath them, they'll probably blow apart. I'm going to try and paint them with the airbrush. And I was going to do the cab separately, keep the roof and one door off, so that I could paint that and then do the interior and then put the roof and stuff back on, or put the roof on and the door on, and then slap everything together. Now back to this for a second. If you're going to do this, I do suggest you use the frame, the proper one, to build up your basic stuff. The cab is solid, it's not going to twist on you. Putting it together, and I can actually show you when I was talking about this one. I think hopefully this will catch on camera. You can see I've got to actually, is that the right way up? Give me a second here, guys. That's the way it goes. If those braces are too long, or overextend because you've put them on in the wrong order, being a simpleton following Dragon's instructions, you're going to have trouble. Because it's going to slide in quite a bit. I haven't cleaned this one up, which is why it's not going nicely, but you get the idea. Just mash the gear knob. Damn it. Now what I did, fortunately, because, you know, I'm used to dragging instructions being a complete pain and wrong, is I decided I wanted to build a box. And I did build the box, and I kept the other frame that I thought I was using as sort of a jig, because we'll quickly go through this. This cross support and this cross support are freestanding. They can wobble, and you need them at 90 degrees. Same thing with these two supports, and you all want them to line up with, here's my spare one, tiny little holes. Is that the right side up? Yep. Then you get to these ones, and hopefully they're showing well. These have a single mounting point or single mounting hole at the back, and there's no, they don't attach at the front to the other supports. So if you're going to build this one up, put these 4 on, then just dry fit it on the frame. Sorry, I'm trying to see through my camera so that you know that the holes are all lined up. Put it together like that, so these dry at the proper angles to each other. Then once that's done, and it's not too far off, I actually taped, well, glued the back of these ones here, and then taped them to the frame to get them at the right angle and hopefully the right height, so that when I do come back later I can sort of just pinch those into the proper position. That'll work. But that's how uber dragon this kit is. You know, I should have really paid attention to the fact that it's the C frame. The frame that I did use, that they tell you to use on the first page, is marked on their sprue map as a discard one. But then again, you know, you've got it here, don't use, and step number 2 is use. Then by step number 4, Dragon saying the part number is FU. So if you do want to build one of the Maultiers, be very, very careful. I always go in assuming that Dragon is out to screw me, and this kit definitely proves it. And the detail is nice. It's going to build up nice if I don't end up smashing it or throwing it under my car. But yeah, when you're missing part numbers, you're missing the addition of parts. When they tell you the frame, you know, the heart of any vehicle or the spine of any vehicle, they give you the wrong part number. It's bad. It's really bad. And some of it, like, you really have to plan ahead and think it through. It works out reasonably well. I'll show you here. Hopefully the camera will pick this up. You actually have 4 holes in the wheels for the plates. You won't see them, but 2 are for the axle attachment, and then there's 2 smaller ones for that steering rod attachment. You put that in. You put that in. And then part of it runs up for what would be your attachment to the, sorry, I'm doing it again, for what would be your attachment to the steering box. And you have to kind of angle everything together. You have to do sort of 3 things at once, which is normal for dragons. But if you look at the instructions, that's one piece, that's the other piece, and then you've got that center span. They're showing all going in as ones, and you'll lose your mind. I put in one piece, the other piece, then put the center attached. But the instructions aren't even clear on whether that goes over or under the frame. And they don't even show this one attaching to the back part of this, and this all looks like almost one piece. We're showing you the front part, and hopefully, that's actually what it should look like. I don't know if you guys will see it, but that piece they don't show actually attaching at the other antenna thing does tie into the steering system. So I was hoping this would be an easy build and just more like an aircraft with having to keep pieces apart to paint them properly and everything else, but it's turning into, even by Dragon standards, a complete pain. So like I said, if you're looking for, it's buildable. I think I can still save this, but if you're looking at this kit, really take your time, really assume that Dragon is out to screw you over, because that's the only way I can explain this stuff. Anyway, take care.